وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala speaks of the coming of Qiyamah and the hisab of every individual, where we will have to stand in front of Almighty Allah. اقترب للناس حسابهم. That your reckoning is very, very close. My reckoning is close, yours is close. It is called hisab. The closest example of hisab we have in this world is when your accountant starts asking you questions. He said, you made this one business deal. What was that about? And you start stressing already. Then SARS phones you. They ask the same question. Now you really start stressing. Hisab. The man caught his wife doing something on the phone. That night there's going to be interrogation. Hisab. He already made indication. The wife found out you got a second wife. That's the hardest hisab. You come home and you just see everything is of a different silence. The children are already in the bed. This is not normal. You already know you caught. Thus, I'm not speaking from experience, meaning I'm telling about someone's experience. You already know you caught. She just says, we need to talk, and you already know it's done. Then it comes in your mind, if I speak the truth, it comes, whoever speaks the truth will be saved. Doesn't happen, but you speak the truth, and then she opens and says, get out. And that night you have to go and stay somewhere else. That's the beginning, his interrogation. اقترب للناس حسابهم. But when hisab will come one day, وهم في غفلة معرضون. But amazing, man has no thought about that hisab. ما يأتيهم. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala says, no zikr, no reminder comes to him. They even listen to it. إلا استمعوه. So it means the Jummah bayan, they were there, they listened. Someone sent a clip to them, they listened. Someone was screaming loudly, they heard it. The bayan was taking place at the ijtima, they were listening. Some were outside listening, some were inside listening. إِلَّا اسْتَمَعُوهُ. They listened to it, but still there was no change. وَهُمْ يَلْعَبُونَ. We still found them playing the same game. Still, no one was worried of his hisab. He listened to the bayan, he heard the bayan. Why did it not affect him? Allah Tabarak Ta'ala says, لَاهِيَةً قُلُوبُهُمْ. The problem is the heart had now become involved with something which was not so important. لَاهِيَةً قُلُوبُهُمْ. When an Islahi Jalsa takes place, Islah means let's fix up one problem. Let's fix up one problem. The system of the modern day Western medication is that wherever the problem is, they say, let us target the problem, don't worry of the root. In that manner, you can get a person coming back from the doctor, you will see how much medication he comes. So you'll ask him, what's in this bottle? He says, this is to counter the side effects of that one. They'll sell you so much because they never looked at the root. They need the headache to go away, they need the fever to go away, they need the rash to go away. But if you ask him why it's happening, even the doctor will say, I don't know, it's a new virus. That word new virus is a top answer. It's like to say we're all confused. But maybe it's COVID or a second wave of COVID or swine. So if you hear swine, you say, I'd rather go for COVID. I don't want to be swined. But they'll never ever try to treat, why did it start? Because it's very hard to go to the root. In the past, Hakims would try it. They would put their hands on someone's, try to get that pulse, try to pick up, what's the problem? Very hard. They also, many a time you will say, Hakim, you shooting like. Because he fell, he said, you fantastic. The man walked out and passed away. There and there. He said, you missed a pulse. To pick up the root, it's very hard. However, in this body, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, I'll show you the root. I will show you the root of the problems of the eyes. It's the heart. The root of your anger. You will say, my wife makes me angry. With the other woman, I got no problem with them. Ask them of my character. It's the wife, she's the problem. He said, it's the heart. It's not the wife, it's the heart. She says, my husband, it's him, it's my in-laws, they're poisoning. You say, maybe it's your heart. It's the heart. He said, the root is not somebody else's heart, it's your heart, it's my heart. The heart is the problem. When the heart is clean, we were given an example of an individual, one individual, who had everyone around him who he had given his life for. He had helped them when they were in difficulties. He had taken over their difficulties and carried it when they could not manage. He carried the burdens of others. He took the amanat of others. When they never know how to look after their wealth, he took their wealth, he looked after it. They called him as-sadiq. They called him al-amin. He was the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They all became his enemy. All became his enemy. But his heart was a heart. His heart was a heart. When the heart was a heart, he was able to make his enemy his friend. He was able to make the children of his enemy his friend. He was to make the close people love him. He was to make the people far away love him. He had a heart. When effort is made on this heart, I will never be able to make my heart like his. You will never be able to make your heart like his. But at least so much is that if the heart is lahiyah lahun alhaakumut takathur, that your desire to get more has made you turn away from what is important to what is not so important. Look at Quran. It never said this world is not important. Lahun meant that thing which makes you negligent from more important because of something less important. We can't forget about hisab. We can't forget. But when this heart has turned its attention to something not so important, problem is the heart. Problem is the heart. So if someone has to say that I'm making a decision between two women, one is my halal wife, not so pretty, not so nice, and the other one is the one at the shop, very pretty, very nice. That one is sweet, this one is sour. What will be said? How do you explain to a person that, you know what? He will say, she's like biryani, this is like dal. Then you'll have to tell him, dal is good for the diet. You can't say that. But if you say to someone, she's like biryani, and then there is the creator of all biryani. Said, you have turned your attention away from something much more important. You have made a difference between two things of the same. It's a matter between you and your Allah. He says, eat what you want to eat today, you will be eating fire tomorrow. Now look at it again. Lahiyatan qulubuhum, but when the heart became stuck with something not so important, it could hear bayan after bayan after bayan, illa istama'uhu wa hum yal'abun. It made no difference. Why? He forgot that there's something going to happen very important. The heart became ghafil. It became stuck with something not important. It forgot about hisab. When hisab is remembered, Hazrat Moulana Ashraf Ali Tanwi rahimullah would say, Aaj aakar le intiqam, Qiyamat ke din tak natal ye kaam. That if you want to take revenge from me, he said, come today. He said, I beg you, don't delay till tomorrow. If you want to take revenge from me, he said, come today. He said, I beg you, don't delay the matter till tomorrow, the day of Qiyamah. Their hearts were connected to something more important. When something more important is there, the heart comes out of lahu. When it comes out of lahu, then even a small bayan will change your life. But when the heart remains in its lahu, stuck with something not so important, you will hear bayans after bayans after bayans. The heart is the main. When the heart becomes spoilt, the eye will be spoilt. The person will say, very hard to control the eye. Very hard. He said, you don't see me, I'm always looking down. But still I see what I want to see. He said, I always look down. I give that example of that student of ours. When I asked him, how did you meet her? She was in Parda. He said, I saw her toes. That was it. In the toe, he picked up her age, her color, he picked it all up, that this one is the one for me. He looked down. I couldn't tell him, look down. He looked down. That was the problem. But his heart was the problem. For had he looked down and his heart was clean, he would not have seen another woman's pretty toe. He would have seen the fire of Jahannam. He would have seen his Allah, who I can either make happy now or I can make upset now. He would have seen many things. Sahaba radiallahu anhum, in entering the lands of the Romans, the Roman king said to those women, do not hold back. Show your beauty. If anyone wants to smile at you, touch you, talk to you, open up. Women lined themselves up. A Sahabi radiallahu anh just had to say to the other, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُدُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ, that Almighty Allah appointed me to say to you, drop your gaze, finish. But their hearts were hearts. So the problem was not in the eye, the problem was in the heart. They had a heart. One verse they heard, يَغُدُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. He never have to explain it. He never have to give a tafsir of it. They never needed a 1 hour bayan. It was one verse they heard, يَغُدُّوا. Tell them drop their eye. Later on the king will call these women, upset with them. So many days these people walk past you. You could not even get one of them. You couldn't spoil one of them. Then they speak. They say, Wallah, not a single one of them looked at us even. Forget speaking to us, smiling at us. Was it the heart that they looked down the eye? It was the heart. The heart was so involved in something more important that the eye naturally would only see that more important. Only. How come a person, when it is that peak time at the end of the year, and his wife phones and says, you're not coming for lunch, he says, I'm not hungry. Something more important came. Now he's seeing customers, he needs to make the last amount. He forgot his hunger. Forgot it. Was it that there was no hunger in the stomach? No, it was the heart. The heart became attached to something more important. He told the stomach, behave. Stomach behaved. When the heart says to the eye, behave, the eye behaves. It said to the ear, behave, the ear behaved. But when the heart got a problem, everyone starts playing games. Everyone starts. Now the eye is running his own ball game. The ear is running his own. Problem is, what's the problem? The heart. The heart became involved in something which was not the most important. Lahiyatan qulubuhum. Allah's Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Allah. He said, in your body there is one part. You put this right and everything will come right. You would say, Allah wa hiya al-qalb. But the steps to put the heart right, point number 1, is the person has to understand my heart is not right. If you don't understand that, there's no step 2 after that. Only that person goes for cancer treatment. Who they picked up cancer. He could have had cancer for many years, but as long as they never picked it up, he was not going for treatment. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Al-qalbu karishatin. Remember, the heart is like a feather. Fi ardin falatin, in an open land. In an open land means that feather got no protection. If there was protection and the wind was blowing, the heart would move until it comes to a certain place, it falls. But it's settled behind a tree. There's protection. Now the wind is blowing, but the heart, that leaf now is stuck behind the tree. The wind got no chance to hit it. So now that leaf will finally settle. But what if that leaf is found in an open area, where there is no tree, there is no log? يُقَلِّبُهَا الرِّيحِ ظَهْرًا لِبَطْنٍ. He says, this leaf, you will sometimes seeing the wind pushing it like this. Sometimes it's pushing it like this. It can't stay. The reason is, it got no protection. This leaf will never settle. It will go up, it will come down. It will turn this side, it will turn that side. He said, your heart is like that. Meaning what? Allah has not given this heart of ours a physical protection. In which manner? The mouth has its entrance into the heart. And we have to eat. The ear has its entrance into the heart. The eye has its entrance into the heart. What we think, the mind has its entrance into the heart. There's too many entrances into the heart. It's not closed. The king of a fort, Hazrat Shah Hakim Muhammad Akhtar Sahib Rahimullah would explain, the king of the fort, he said, let the enemy come, we protected in the fort. But when the enemy came, they saw that the water source was from outside. The water source going into the fort was from outside. So all they had to do was, let's poison the water. Finish. That we don't need to go and kill the king inside. We just have to spoil the water. The source is outside. So throw some poison here, throw some poison. Now I don't have to enter the heart. He'll drink this water and die inside. The enemy understood the sources of entrance to our heart. Dajjal had seen the body of man. He understood the workings of the body. He understood the entrances. That is why whatever we have around the world is just poisoning the source into the heart. So you have pictures that is poison. You have food that is poison. You have music that is poison. You have thoughts that is poison. From every angle the devil is just said, poison the source. Poison the source. And then you get a few people who actually manage to climb into the fort and they go for the heart itself. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Shaitan, he is waiting to attack the heart itself. But everything around, everything is coming. All the sources are spoiling the heart. So we got poison from every side. And we got a devil ready to bite at that heart. And that poor heart is like a leaf. It got no protection at all. ظَهْرًا لِبَطْنٍ. When the wind blows, it will just move. When we understand our heart to be so big, so weak, and you understand the sources of enemy power to be so strong, it is impossible a person then sits back and thinks that my heart is okay. It's not going to go up, it's not going to go down. It's not going to turn right, it's not going to turn left. As soon as he thinks my heart is okay, he now opens his eye to the faults of everyone else. So he says, that one got a problem, that one got a problem, that one got a problem. He said, but your leaf is going up and down in the desert. Just the other day you were one side of the desert, you were in the west, you landed up in the east. You're going through the water, you're becoming dirty, you're high up, you're now falling down. You dusty, you dirty, you wet. He said, you don't feel anything. The man says, no, I'm okay. No heart can ever be okay, except that heart who has lost concentration on what's more important. That heart will never ever feel it's moving. It will always feel, I'm okay. And one who immediately thinks about hisab, a Sahabi radiallahu anh, they had so much of feeling on their heart that he comes out walking and he says, Nafaqa Hanzala. That Hanzala has fallen into hypocrisy. A Sahabi radiallahu anh says, what are you saying? He says, do you not see me in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He says, when I hear him speaking, it's like Jannah in front of me. He says, but as soon as I come out of the gathering and I become involved with my family and my land, he says, then I'm not on that level. He could feel it. He could feel it. For him it was nifaq, this is. How he could feel his heart changing. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was so happy with his feeling. He said, oh Hanzala, that's how it's going to be. If you could manage to be on one state all the time, the angels will come make salam to you. He said, it's going to be like this. By me, you're going to be different. Away from me, you're going to be different. But they felt it. They felt the change. Umar radiallahu anh says to another Sahabi radiallahu anh, how do you feel after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Sahabi radiallahu anh says, what do you mean? Umar radiallahu anh said, I had a life during the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I got a life after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The whole world speaks of Umar, the Khilafat of Umar radiallahu anh. The Azwaj Mutahharat would praise Umar radiallahu anh. When he was stabbed before passing away, how they praised him. The entire world, the enemy shivered on Umar. When shaitan would see Umar on a path, he would take another path, radiyallahu anhu. For so many years, what a life he lived, what a life he lived. But they felt their heart. Umar radiyallahu anhu says, I had a life with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, I had a life after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, Wallah, if Allah gives me an option, I will say, oh Allah, whatever I did in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, only look at that. And whatever came after, if I'm going to score on it, benefit on it, and I'm going to be harmed on it, just close the chapter. Sawa, sawa, meaning leave it out. The other Sahabi said, I'll say, oh Allah, so many jihads we went, we conquered so much, we read so much salah, we made so much zakat. Umar radiallahu anhu said, I'll say, oh Allah, let's just call it quits. That this whole chapter after the demise, let's not look at it. It's sawa, sawa, equal, meaning just close this. Why? Because his heart, he felt it, that in the presence of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was a heart of an angel. And after that, there was definitely some change. Sahaba radiallahu anhu were found, you will read before passing away. They would go to a Sahabi radiallahu anhu. They will say, did Allah's Nabi not give you glad tidings? He would start crying. He would say, there was a time. He says, there was a time I hated Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I went out for every battle to take his blood. He says, if I had to die in that state, I would have been of the people of the fire. He says, then Allah guided me to Islam. Right at the ending, Amr bin al-As radiyallahu anhu, right at the ending, he says, guided to Islam. He says, I became so shy. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave me so much honor. Whenever there was an important matter, he said, where's Amr? I was the man who tried to kill him for so many years. I became so shy. He says, Wallah, if you have to ask me to describe the features of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I will not be able to. I was too shy to look at him in the face. He says, then he was the conqueror of Egypt. The whole Egypt came into Islam because of him. He says, then came after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, we took of this world what we took, and we don't know if we have taken the benefits of the year after and used it up in this world. He said, now I'm crying. You're saying glad tidings, Allah's Nabi said this. He said, that was in that time. They felt changes in their heart. And wallah, their hearts, it really stayed. It really stayed. How they looked after themselves. They looked after their attire. They looked after their manners. When they would always ask, will you meet the Nabi of Allah in this condition that you changed? One would say to the other, have you changed after the demise of Rasulullah? The other would say, wallah, I never changed. How hard it is not to change, but they looked after their heart. Now came me and you. We reached the time where no one even looks at the heart. So no one can ever say once upon a time the heart was clean. What happened to it now? Once upon a time I was such a good person. In the house I was soft. In the madrasa I was soft. With the people I was soft. People liked me, I liked others. I was never harsh. I was never hard. I was never greedy. I was never stingy. What happened to me? No one says that. No one says it. Why? Why no one asks? No one asks himself because no one ever looks at his heart. This is known as muraqabah. This is known as muhasabah. Muhasabah means take your own reckoning. That think about when that day comes, Allah is going to ask me, did you do someone down? And immediately think, what answer I'm going to give? Now you'll worry of the heart. Say, were you harsh in your dealings? Were you hard? Were you rude? You'll never think about it until you start thinking about it. You'll never think about it. We could have made many people cry. You'll have to think about it. Sometimes it's not your fault. You'll have to think about it. But that if Allah has to ask me on that day, do I have an answer? Sahaba radiallahu anhu, when someone said to them, how could you do this? They were ready to say that, leave it. Meaning, I did it because he would actually give an answer like it says, leave this between me and Allah on the day of Qiyamah. They had the courage to say that because means I thought about it. I thought about it well. That when Allah will ask me, what happened here? I will say, oh Allah, this is what happened. So leave it now. But me and you never thought about it. I made him cry. I made her cry. I destroyed a family. I took someone's wealth. I made them bleed. That often it was all his, but now it is mine. No one thought about it. And the worst is, when this heart, once upon a time was so soft. But because there was no attention on this heart. I mentioned this incident the other day. We will repeat this incident again. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved to mention incidents. Children take to incident stories. The old people, sometimes the only thing they remember is stories. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam liked to sometimes give incidents of the people of the past. What he meant by that is, if it happened to them, remember it can happen to you. And as you go through the incident, he's trying to tell you, you think now where you want to be. But the narration got to do with the heart. He says, in the people of the past, there were 3 people. One bald, one with a skin illness, and one blind. He says, because of it, people stayed away from them. The bald person, because people laughed at him, said, bless cop. So he felt shy to be in front of people. The man with the skin disease, they regarded it as contagious. So stay away from me, I'll get it. And as for the man who was blind, we can't keep you, you're spoiling our company. You can't see where we're going. An angel was sent to them. At that time when we're in problems, everyone's heart is very soft. Everyone's heart. But this is not an incident of the people of the past. This is me and you. Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, put yourself now in this man's shoes. Either once upon a time you had some problem with your skin. Maybe in school they used to mock at you. They used to call you that guy, that nerd with the glasses. Then context came out. Suddenly you're no longer a nerd. Now you're smart. But now when you see somebody else, how you laugh. That girl, when she was small, they used to laugh at her. They say, you always see her digging her nose. She felt very bad about it. But when she grew up smart, now she's laughing at somebody else. The man who was mocked at, supposed to have learned, I'll never mock. The opposite happened. He becomes worse in mocking. He says, they mocked at me, now I'll show the world, I'll take revenge. This is what Allah's Nabi is saying. Once upon a time, maybe you had a problem in your body. But the problem disappeared. How it disappeared? You think it just went away? Because the man stopped thinking. The heart stopped working. That's why. So you forgot. He says the angel came. When the angel comes, the angel asks that you got a problem in life. He says only one problem. If only this hair can become proper. I can get hair. Then the people won't mock at me. The angel says, money? I don't want money. He says, may Allah give you hair, may Allah give you wealth. He says, I got one camel with me, why don't you keep the camel? And goes away. The man will never remember the day the camel came to him. The camel was pregnant. Allah Ta'ala puts blessings in that. And the time comes where the valley is full of camels. Life has changed. His hair has come back, or it was the man with the skin, and his skin has come back. Meaning the angel visits the man with the skin and gives him an animal. A pregnant cow, it visits the man without hair, it gives him an animal. One got camels, one got cows. A valley of cows, a valley of animals. I got my hair, I got my skin, life changes. When life changes, the few people who stood with you, you know what, longer bothered about them. You push them away. Stay away from me, you. Now you're looking for new friends. Friends who never ever stayed with you. Now you shy of your past. Then there is the blind person. Would you like something to be able to see what others are seeing? Would you not like one pregnant sheep or goat? One goat is given, he got a valley of animals, his eye comes back. One person, he had a heart. 2 people lost their hearts. They lost it so badly that when the time comes for the exam, the angel comes in the form of that very man who once upon a time came. It was the same man who gave the camel. But when your heart becomes dead, you will not even recognize the one who did a favor to you. The angel comes and says, my rope has broken, the journey is far. I saw you got a lot of animals, one animal so I can reach where I need to reach. You know, when the heart is hard, Allah's Nabi Sallallahu said, Allah hates the man who got a hard heart. When the heart is hard, your answers are also harsh. They say words kill. The man says to it's an angel, but for him it's a poor man. He says, come tomorrow. That sentence, come tomorrow. Where the man is supposed to go tonight? He just managed to reach here. He got no food. He got no car that, okay, go back and come tomorrow. You're supposed to take him in your house. Come tomorrow. The angel looks at him and says, you know, I recognize you. Once upon a time, didn't you have a problem in your life? People stayed away from you. You had nothing. What happened? Didn't Allah give you? You become shy of your own past. When the heart is knocked, he says, Kabiran and Kabirin, we inherited this. What are you talking about? This was inherited from the past. So the angel says, maybe I'm wrong. But if you are lying, then may Allah let it be as it was. And the angel will carry on. Comes to the blind person. The man had a heart. Before the angel can finish his story, the man says, go in the valley and choose what animal you need to get your work done. You need some food. Go and look what you got. If I got a horse there, you can get a horse. Take a camel. Take what you want. And then he speaks. The angel doesn't have to remind him. He had a heart. He says, Wallah, once upon a time I was in the position of you. People stayed away from me. I had nothing. Then Allah gave me. How can I hold back today? He had a heart. And the angel says to him, I don't want anything. I have been sent for your exam. You have passed, your two friends have failed. So simple the hadith is, so deep the hadith is, that do we want to fail or do we want to pass? Problem is, we'll never know when the exam is. If we know when the exam is, then I'll make sure with that angel, I'll give him the whole valley. You'll never know when the exam is. He'll come in such a manner you'll never pick up. You will never pick up. You won't see that angel. You have to be ready. You'll never pick up. We were coming back from Hajj. It happened, a small fight started in the aeroplane. One man got angry. It got to do with the heart. He got angry because the flight was delayed. So you in Hajj, you're returning from Hajj, you got your nice kurta on, you got your nice hair which is shining with noor. Now you're going to go back and everyone's going to hug you. You're returning from Hajj, like Mubarak, make dua for me, make dua for me. So the ibadat of Hajj took place, but the heart. In the aeroplane, someone is sick. So they announced that someone is sick. We are just waiting to see if the flight can take off. So one person stands up and he says, if that person is sick, get that person out of the aeroplane. Why are you keeping us up? What a time to say it. Other people immediately fell because that person is struggling to breathe. So one woman said to the man that she's sick and you're making her more sick. So he said to the woman, shut up you. So she told him, you shut up. And then he took out his shoe. Oh no, the man of Hajj, he took out his shoe for the woman. Then some men stood up, they came to him. Almost a fight was going to start because of a heart. Finally he sat down, he was very upset. Some other woman told him from the back, how can you talk to a woman like that? He said, why she told me shut up? Somebody else said, you told her shut up. And carrying on, he said, you shut up. All that is happening. Then one man comes. So I'm looking at the scene now. One man comes. He looks like the most poorest man in the world. I think he had that broken champals also. And he never looked good at all. But he comes and he's speaking to this man. I thought he's some family of this man. What's amazing me is he came from the front of the aeroplane, so he's traveling first class. So I'm wondering how he's traveling first class. His clothes and first class don't work. He spoke, and then the man went quiet. The man was a big size man. He just went quiet. So I said, some family member who told him I said, this could be the sheikh of the world. Whatever wazifa he gave him, his shaitaniyat went out. Then this man now goes to that woman who's sick. First he went and spoke to the woman who was arguing, and then we saw that the air hostess came and the seat is changed. Then he went to that woman who's sick, and then he spoke something, and then he went to, now I'm wondering, like maybe his family, so he went to apologize on this man's behalf, but he went back in first class. So someone's next to me said, you saw that? That's the flight marshal. I said, what's a flight marshal? He said, every aeroplane got one man who just travels to make sure that nothing wrong happens in the aeroplane. This man is armed, and this man can defend himself very well. He said, but normally it will be such a person, you'll never think this is the man. Small guy, wearing old clothing, torn champals. But he had so much of authority that he told that big man one sentence, the big man lost all his shaitaniyat. The flight marshal, you'll never pick him up. But if you don't know you could be tested, you can fail the exam. We will never pick up when the angel of Allah will come for our exam. We'll never pick up. Because he'll come looking in that guise that this is the last to be the angel. But if the heart is correct, you will give an answer to the angel which will even shock the angel. If the heart is correct. And if the heart is spoiled, then you will even lie regarding the favors of Allah. That even when someone reminds you, were you not, you say, shut your mouth. They'll say, how will you answer to Allah? He says, forget it. You say, I don't believe in Qiyamah. So you talk like this. What happened to your heart? The heart died. The heart died. This Islahi Jalsa was to say, wake up to our heart. Wake up to our heart. I'll have to listen to my heart. Has it become involved in something not important? That is why it died. Let's take it back to what's important. Are we ready for our reckoning? Tonight ask your heart. And I'm going to be questioned what answers I'm going to give. Immediately the heart will say, I never realized that's more important. Soon as that happens, everything changes. إِذَا صَلُحَتْ صَلُحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. If it comes right, the whole body comes right. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala bless me with a clean heart. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala bless all of you with a clean heart. وصلى الله على النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.